reads all the words, that are Rachel was called whore, homewrecker, vile slut, die, fuck yourself with a cheese grater.
She reads them slow. She pauses. Then there's a big pause. Just keep going. I've got a lot to say now. You've woken me up here.
And everybody said, I thought Kyle from Summer House, he came out and said, Bethenny, how the irony of you leading this union and then making $1 million probably off of this interview. She probably didn't make that, but I bet she's north of 150,000 easily in ad sales.
I mean, you and I have podcasts. I just debated this with Rachel, you could tell, on the Patreon.
I think she's made over 100 grand probably from that.
Really? I don't know about that.
Well, none of her ads are.
I mean, my podcast charts, my podcast episodes normally chart even higher than hers many times, or the same. I mean,
but this series, I think she's probably.
I mean, it was up there. Sure, it was way up there, but I don't know.
That is though. That's the thing. It's going to be up there.
Maybe. Okay, maybe.
But and then I'll shut up, is Bethenny now in the past couple of days or, since the interview has said, stay tuned as far as Rachel getting paid. So, is Bethenny going to produce her podcast? Is that where this is headed? Bethenny is launching a network and Rachel is the first person that, so then, they can simultaneously say, look, I got Rachel paid. She certainly is teasing that Rachel will get paid money.
Yeah. So, and what does that mean, though? Does that mean that when she proceeds ahead with her reality reckoning and they have their day in court, that she'll get $3 for her back episodes of VPR? I mean, it's such a vague thing to imply. Listen, I have such mixed, I guess, to take your first point about, you were so drawn in, the problem that people have, that I do have, is that if all of that was authentic, the crying, that I care about you, you don't have a voice, I'm outraged, I never watched this show before, but I watched enough of it to interview. If all of this was truly authentic, then I guess she was a good vehicle. But I think that's the problem people have. Kyle Cook from Summer House, if this is truly a PSA, why are there ads in it? I think people don't believe it. I mean, look, there were times where I was like, oh my God, I interview people for a living. Do you interview people for a living? I mean, right. Like reading all those things, I would have read all those things too. Like, job well done, Bethenny. I mean, I'm not saying that I would have done certain things differently, but I would have, said this is for this episode and this is an injustice that has happened to you, but I'm here, this is my job and I want to make money. So I think the difference is maybe that I'm just upfront about it. Like when Bethenny starts to cry, then we look back at on the Housewives where she's screaming at Sonia over a cheater brand and this and that. So it's like, this is the tough girl. So where are these tears coming from? And it's more like, I'm not saying but reading. And I mean, these pauses, Sarah, these pauses were so at the end, she's like, and then Andy Cohen stopped you from running out. Silence. Silence, silence. We're still silent. Silence, silence, silence. How did that feel? Like, so I don't know. Was this authentic? Like, does she care? I mean, that's really, I think, the problem people have. And does it matter if she cares? I think it's just the hypocrisy. Like, just say you're doing your job another day. I mean, you told Jill Zarin to her face you don't care, that you'll never be friends.
I mean, I don't think it matters that she cares. Look, my uncle was on Oprah Winfrey years ago because he's an interior decorator in Connecticut and redid one of Gail's apartments. And, he always says with Oprah, she is very warm. She's amazing. She talks directly to you. She gives you advice. She gave him advice after, basically, I believe she said to him something along the lines, raise your rates. You're going to get a lot of phone calls, be selective, stick to what you do best. But he said, the entire time you're talking to Oprah, she's like, you can see her mind work. She has a million things going on. She's thinking about other things she has to do that day. Who's the next guest? He said, she was like engaged, but, you knew she had like a lot more going on. I mean, Was Oprah like that into every guest? No, but she still was Oprah. She still had the Oprah effect. I don't think it matters if Bethenny's into Raquel or Rachel. And by the way, Rachel, the reason that Rachel went to Bethenny is because Rachel's mom, it sounds like, is an uber fan of Bethenny's and they reached out. So, I mean, how lucky did Bethenny get? I mean, that's really, I think, what it comes down to. I do think that people listen to Behind the Velvet Rope. I think that they take a page out of your book. The 3-part series kind of was like a David Yontef signature thing long before that. And what's fascinating, I'm not going to name other names, but you tune into these big podcasts now and they do kind of like pause like you do, which I think you kind of were the pioneer for that. They do these interviews and they really let the guests speak. I think that's a big trend in podcasts now, where it never used to be. The host would like talk over the guests and, this and that. Now it's like, oh, let's let this breathe. That I think it's just a new trend. And you were one of, I don't know if you were the first, but you were the first that I heard doing that.
Yeah, being the first really sucks. Like if you ask like, if you ask like, listen, if you ask like, the people I interview from the 80s and 90s, these artists that were huge, they don't got no Taylor Swift money. If you ask like Spencer and Heidi, they're like, bravo, where the hell was that when we were on TV? Being the first really sucks because you're the ones. But yeah, these other loser podcasts, I'm not even going to mention their name. They just started a Patreon. Everyone's sending me, they're like, this is a ripoff of your Patreon. I'm like, it sure is. I do want credit for I never saw multi-part episodes, part 1 and part 2. Now I will read my good friend, Miss Carlos King to his face. More power to you because I love Carlos, but this one's got this with Kenya and Nene and Bethenny's 3 parts. Yeah, I'm sorry. David Yontef invented that. Sorry. That's really true. People would slip into my DMs, you motherfucking asshole. I hate these multi-parts and blah, blah. I'm like, noise, not listening to it, sticking with the business move. And here we are. Now everyone's doing it. Sucks being the first, girl.
Pioneers always get bloody, and it's kind of the worst. It's almost like you kind of let the pioneers go first, let them get bloodied up, and then you come in after. Because it is true. Yeah. It's true.
Well, just like Bethenny, I'm like, I'm not listening to anyone. I don't listen to anyone with my business, all this other stuff. Noise. Say anything you want about me. You got to keep your focus on the business. So I stuck with the multiple parts. Now everyone has them. I feel, I guess, like you do. So I do think Bethenny played it up and was dramatic. And I mean, I would have done the same thing. So nothing, but I do feel, I agree with you. That is my biggest problem with this. Raquel.
Oh, it's such a bad move.
You could have, right. You could have done a book. There's someone would have got a book. You could have spoken to like the Sun, Daily Mail, and gotten, even if it's 10,000